Hello guys and welcome back. So the next part we'll be looking into now is stacks. Now when we talk about stacks, what's a stack? We say it's a collection of based is a collection based on what LIFO, last in first out what principle. Now the application now we say what we're using a function called stack. It handles what the nested function calls in what in programming. And sometimes we want to do like an undo functionality, like reversing the last action what in editors. We can use what this stack for it. Now let's try to actually write the code behind for this stuff. So we can start by creating a new file for that. Let's say we call it stack dot what dot html, right? So let's say we're having this, and the next thing for us now is what our script, right? Now I had the script now remember, the first thing we're doing the other part now, we're saying well we're creating classes of what of node, but now I'll start by creating what a class of what of stack here. So I will say class what class stack, right? Class stack, then I have this inside it. Now I have what a constructor, right? Now this my now say this my constructor, I say this dot items, right, is equal to what an empty array. Now this guy what I just finished here, I'm just initialize what an empty array to what to store what the stack elements. So now the next part for me to now do is this. I say now I create a what a method. Now I create a method to actually add an element to what to the stack. Now how do you do that? Now I can now say push, right? Now in this push, now we just say push what element, element, then I could have this. Now here I could just say this dot items dot what dot push elements, right? Now this actually what adds the elements what to the what to the end of what of the array. Now let's continue. Now the next thing I do now again, I create another method. Now this method now is to what remove and return what the top element of what of the stack. Now how do I do this? Now I say this, I say so I say pop, right? Pop what, then inside it now say this if what if this dot what dot items dot length is equal to what 0. Now I initially need to what to do this for me, sorry. So actually need to do what do something for me. So I could say return what I could say this return empty stack this way. So let's say return empty stack for pop. Let's just say this, that's our return message you are giving. Now we could say return what return this, right? Return this dot item dot what dot pop. Now what does this guy do? It's actually what removes and what return the last element of what of the array. Now we have it what this way. Now the next thing for us to do now, we'll create another method. So we call the method pick. Now this method we are creating now is actually to do what? It's actually to what return what the top elements of what of the element. So the top elements of what of the stack. That's why we're creating what this method of what of pick. I will say pick. Now in my pick now I can now say if what if this dot items, right, dot length, right, is equal to 0. So now I'm now saying this, I need to what return what I will say return empty stack, right? So now here I could have this. Now why am I saying this? I'm saying what, you should return a message if the stack is what is actually what empty. Now the next thing for me to do now is this. I'll say what return. Now you can see that's what I'm having. I'm saying return this dot what dot items dot this dot item, then open bracket of what of the array. Now inside I'm saying this dot item dot length minus what minus 1. Why am I saying this? I'm actually saying what I want it to what return the last element of what of the array. Does it make sense? So now we go back out now and create a what? Another method now. The another method whereby I'm saying a method to actually what? Check if the stack is actually what? Empty. I could say is empty. Right? Create this method is empty. So we say let's use common question. Is empty. Right? So I could have this guy this way. Now what do I want to say? I'll first say I'll say now I'm saying return this dot what dot items dot what dot length equal to what equal to 0. That's to what to it's going to actually this what's going to do here is guys it's going to return true if the array is actually what empty. Now create another method. Now this is the last method we're creating called, let's call it print stack. Now while we're creating this method, I actually need this method to actually what display the stack as what as an array. Now I will say this print stack. Let's call it print stack. So I can now say this. Now I will say return. What am I trying to actually what return? I'll say return this dot what this dot items, right? This dot items dot to now I'll say what to string, right? So now what it's actually doing is actually what converts the array to a string and what returns it for me. Now we have this guy this way. Now the last part now is to show the output of our code. So coming out of this stack scope now, I can now say this. I could say let stack equal to what new stack this way. By doing this, I do what is instantiate what this class. I already instantiate what this class, meaning that anywhere I call this stack now, it means I'm talking about what this same stack. Now I do this. I say stack dot what I could say. Let's say dot push, not the method we have there. Dot push. Let's say 10. You know what this guy does? It actually what adds 10 to what to the stack. Now let's add more things. We say let's say stack. We say stack dot, let's say another push, stack dot push. Then I could say let's say we're putting 20. Then let's have another stack dot push. Then I could say we're having what 30. Then I could say let's use, so let's say stack dot dot push, let's say 40 also. Now at this point now the next thing I want to like show out the output, right? So now I could just say this. I could say console dot log what. Now I'll say, so I'll say stack dot what dot print stack. Now what am I trying to achieve here? I'm trying to what so what am I trying to achieve here? I'm trying to achieve a situation whereby I'm actually able to show give an output of what of this whole stack. So basically we'll be having like 10, 20, 30 and what. So if I say this now, console dot what dot log, and I say stack dot pick. Now remember, what does this pick do? You know, it actually was that. So we said this pick now, what does it do? It actually returns the top of the elements in what in the stack. Now if I say stack dot pick, what do you think I'll be having? I'll be having something like what? Let's what's the last one here? I'm having what 40. So it's going to control what 40 for us. Now if we move to the next part now, where I say let's say stack dot pop, right? Now what does it do? Now it removes what the top element, right? When you say pop, it removes what the top element. So let's try to run this code and actually see what we're actually having. So we'll be having this way now. Let's say Control Shift and what and I. Now what's the first thing that's happening? Let's loop. So the first thing that's happening now is showing us is out 10, 20, 30 and what and 40. Why? Because we're saying what we already said from the beginning here. You said stack dot what push 10, stack dot push what 20, stack dot push 30, stack dot push what 40, and the last thing we said was what console dot log stack dot what print stack. That's what actually what brings out all of this for us, all of this element for us. Now the next thing we now do, we say what console dot log stack dot what dot pick. Now it brings with what top one without what removing it, and this issue is what 40. Now if we say this now, let's say we're saying saying this, after saying this stack dot pop, now when I want to see what's inside, we say console dot log. Console dot log what? I say stack dot what? Dot print stack. Now what are we going to be having now? Now because I've said what? Stack dot what? Dot pop. Yeah. Now automatically now it removes what? Actually what? Removes what? Now because we're saying what? Because we already said this here, we already said stack dot what? Dot pop. It actually what? It already remove what? The top element. So now we'll be having what? This here, we're having what? 10, 20 and what? And 30. So the moment I say this again, imagine I say stack dot pop again. Stack dot pop once more. Now I'm moving the top element again. Now this time I'm saying something like this. Console dot log stack dot, then say what is empty, just to check if the stack that was empty. Now if you do this now, what we'll be having is our stack actually what's empty? No, right? So now let's actually see how it's going to look like. So coming back here now, we'll be having this. Now what you're seeing here now, you're seeing what? False. Why? Meaning that what? The stack is actually what? Not empty. It's still saying what? 10, 20 and what? And 30. Now if you do this now, let's say we add stack dot what? Dot pop for everything now. When it actually removes everything now, let's see what it's going to give us. So if I say stack dot pop, right? Now we have 3 elements, right? Stack dot pop for the other one. Then I could say stack dot what? Dot pop also. Now at this point now, I've removed what? Every single one of them. Now I will now say this again. Console. Let me copy this and paste there and say this. Now we come back here now and see this. Now let's refresh. Now what are you seeing here? True. The first one is what? Is false. Why? You can still see these guys in it. But now the moment I removed every one of these guys now, it's not giving us what? True. Meaning that what? The stack is actually what? Empty. So that's how the stack actually works. Now let's move to the next part of the course. Now the next part we'll be looking into now is what? Queues. Now we said queues are what? A collection based on what? FIFO, first in first out principle. Now we said stacks are what? Collection based on what? LIFO, last in first out. But whereas for these queues now is what? First in what? First out principle. Now we have different types. We have the simple queue, basic FIFO queue, and we have the circular queue that connects the what? The end to the beginning to form a what? To form a loop. And the use cases now is when, example, like when you're trying to like schedule tasks, right? So handling tasks in the other day, what? They actually what? Arrive. This is one of the places where you use what? Queues. Now to print screw queue management also. So to manage printing, for managing print jobs and all. Now let's move into the coding section. So let's see how this works out. Now the first thing we're doing now is let's create a file and call it q.html. Okay, one here. So I say this script, right? Script. Inside the script now, remember like what we'll be doing. The very first thing we'll be doing, we define what? A class, what? Using an array. So I can now say class, let's call it q, right? QUEUE. Now I can now have this, right? Now inside it, sorry, mistake. Now inside it here now, I'll have my constructor this way. Now in my constructor now, I could now say constructor this. Now what am I trying to implement here? I'm going to try to initialize an empty array to actually store what? The queue element. So I could say this this dot item is got to what? An empty array. Now the next thing for me to do after that now is what? Is to actually create a method that would actually add an element to the what? To the end of the what? Of the queue. Now if I say this, let's say I name this method enqueue. Now enqueue, then I say element, right? Enqueue element, then I'm saying this here. Now this dot items dot what? Dot push elements, right? Now what am I trying to do? I'm saying what? I'm adding the elements to the what? To the end of the what of the array this way. So now the first thing I'm doing now, I create what a method that actually adds an element to the what to the end of the what of the queue. Now what I'm doing here, this line here now, I'm actually doing what I'm adding the elements to the end of the what of the array. Now let's say this. And I'll say now the next thing for me to do now, I'll have to what create a method to actually what remove and actually what return the front elements to what of the queue. Now let's call that one the queue, right? The queue, right, this way. So if I say this now in the queue, now I will say the first thing I want to do, I want to return a message if the queue is what is empty. So I will say this if right, if this if these dot items dot length, right, is equal to what 0. Now we say this. So we're going to say we say return on the flow, right? So now I'm just returning a message that if the queue is at what empty. Now the next thing I do now, I just say what return this dot item dot what dot shift. Now what does this guy do? It's actually what removes and return what the first element of the what of the array. Now if I say this way, now we're having this guy, our method is actually what complete. Now create the next method whereby we're creating a method whereby we want to actually return the front element of the queue without removing it. Now we can say this. You can say let's say front, right? Let's say front. Now in this front, now say this front, and I'm saying if this dot items dot length is equal to what 0. Now I'm saying this return empty queue, right? So now I have this way. Now the next thing I'll do now is what I try to return the first element of the array. And now how do I do this? I'll say what return this dot item, then what index of 0. So now we have this guy this way. Now after this, we create another method. This method is to to check if the queue is actually empty, just like we did in the last one to check the stack. So we say is empty, right? Is empty. Now in this is empty. Now I could have this. Now in this is empty. So I could say return this dot element and return this dot items dot length equal to what 0. This is how we create this guy. So now say this. Now the last method we'll be creating now is the print queue method. Now what does this guy do? It's just a method to display the queue and to display the queue as an array. So I could say print, let's say queue. Now if I say this print queue, now what we'll be saying here, we'll say return what are we trying to return? We'll say return this dot items dot to string. You get me? Now this dot item to string. What does this guy actually do? It actually convert the array into a string and return it for us. Now let's see how this code is actually working. Now let's see, make some test cases. Now let's say the first thing now is let's queue, like let's queue equal to I could say new queue. Remember, start initiating the class. Now I will just be like this. Let's say the first one to do was to actually add to the queue. I can now say queue dot I can say enqueue. Remember, that's what the method stands for, to actually add for us. So enqueue of 10. Now we could have this. Now we say queue dot under enqueue then. So I'm so sorry for the interruption, guys. So we could say this now, enqueue also like 20, right? Now remember what this enqueue is doing, actually adding to the queue. Now I will say this q dot enq of what, let's say 30. Let's say just added this stuff. Now how are we able to view it? Now that's when this our print q method comes in. So I'll say what, console dot log to print it out for us. So console dot log, I could say q, right, q dot what, print q. Now if you try to run this code now, we'll be having this. Let's run and say this. So we'll be having our output like this. So let's say control shift and what, and I. Now upon doing this now console now okay, let's refresh here. So sorry, so we're having a mistake here. So we haven't activated the function now, so put the bracket here. Now let's rerun our code to see what we have. So coming back here now, as you can see, we're having what, 10, 20 and what, and 30. Now another thing I want to do now is to actually use the front element. I will say also now console, so the front method we created. So I will say console.log. Now when I say console.log of, let's say q dot what, dot front, right, in bracket. Now automatically, now what it's going to come out, it's going to output what, output the front element, which is what, 10. You get me? Now if you come back here to actually see our output, we'll be having this. Let's refresh. So what, as you can see, we're having what, 10 this way. This is how this guy works. Now let's try other methods we have there. So let's say the let's say this q dot deq. Now remember, what's this deq function actually doing? Now it says what's it going to do? It's going to what, remove the front element, right? Now when you say q dot front, it actually what, output the front element, but the deq now actually what, remove the front element. Now if I say console.log of, let's say q dot print q, right? So we'll be having something like this here. Now as a refresh, as you can see now, only having what, 20 and what, and 30. That's actually what, remove the first one, the front what element. Now let's come back and say check the empty method now. So we'll say console dot log, right? So let's say console dot log of this q dot let's say is empty, right? And I put this. So now if you run this guy also, now we'll be having something exactly like this. So now it's telling us that what, let's refresh, it's telling us that what, false, right? So meaning that what, there are still queues inside it, right? There are still elements inside it. Do you get it? So this is how the queue actually what works. So let's move on to the next part. So the next thing we'll be looking into now is hash tables. Now what's an hash table? Say what, it's a data structure that stores key value pairs where keys are what, are hashed to what, a specific index. Now the core concept is that the hash function converts a key into what, an array index. Then handling collision, now this technique like chaining using what, linked list or what, open addressing. Now application where we use it, we use this hash table for catching like quickly retrieve previously computed results. Like let's say you're using your browser now, like previously data like you used there already, so you can actually quickly get it by catching it. Now we have the implementing dictionaries, efficiently storing what, and efficiently storing and what, retrieving key value pairs. Now let's see how this guy works. So let's begin by creating a file for it. Go say hash tables.html, right? Now say this. Now inside I could have what, script. Now inside my script I could just have this guy. Now remember, the very first thing we need to do what, I need to what, define my what, hash table what, class. So I will say what, class, then what, class what, hash table, right? Now then I do this. Inside it, the first thing I do is what, I create my what, my constructor. Now I say constructor. Now what does my constructor have? Now I say I actually give a size of, let's say, equal to 50, right? So I do this. inside my constructor now do this. I set the size of the hash table. So now I could say this dot size is equal to what size already. Now the next thing I'll do, I actually do something. I say I actually initialize, actually try to initialize the buckets as an array of an empty. So I say this dot bucket, right? This dot bucket. Then I say is equal to array, right? Array, then this array, this dot size, right? This dot size, then I say this dot size dot fill, right? Dot fill, then I'll say null, Abby. Then I say dot map. Now dot map, when I say my dot map, now inside it I'll have like another bracket, then I'm saying this. Now under expression of this, now I say my array, my empty array, then I say this. Now remember I said what this guy is actually helping us to achieve here is that we're trying to say we're initializing the bucket as an array of an empty array. Does it make sense? Now let's go back to the next part. Now the next thing for us to do now is to create a simple hash function. So I will say hash, right? Hash, then I will say hash key, this way. Now inside this place now I can now say let hash, right? Let hash equal to 0, this way. So now the next thing I run a loop, I say for I is for I let I equal to let I equal to 0, right? So I say this. Now the next thing I say is I is less than key dot length, right? So now you can see hash is actually equal to this, and I will say hash plus plus key, right? Dot char code. You get me? So the char code at I, then I say this at I is equal to I. So now I can now say, I will say times I. Now I'll now say this modulus this dot size, right? This way. Now what we're trying to achieve here now, it says we're trying to create a function to convert a key to an index. Now let's continue it. So I can now say return hash, right? So now let's create another function method. So now we can call, now I'll be creating the set method now. Now this set method now, what I want to use for, I'm saying the set method is going to be able to add a key value pair to the hash table. I will say key, then I will say value, right? Sorry, spacing is too much. So if I do this now and I say const index is equal to, and I will say this dot underscore hash. Remember this is our hash function, right? Now then the key. Now what this guy is trying to achieve for us, we're trying to get the index of the key. Now the next thing for us to do after that, now we now say this, we say const bucket, right? Const bucket equal to this dot bucket, right? This dot bucket, then I could say the array, then index, right? This way. So now what does this guy actually do for us? Now this guy actually does this. We're trying to say I want you to get the bucket at the index. Now after that one, now the next method will be creating now. Sorry, under this same guy now, I'll be saying this. I have to check if the key already exists in the bucket and update the value. Now what I'll say is for the for loop, right? So I'll say for for what? For let I equal to what? 0, or let us say for I equal to what? 0, this way. So now we can now say what? We say I less than, or what? Less than bucket dot what? Dot length, right? Sorry, I'm so sorry guys, I'm still meant to be inside this my set method. So I could say this, coming back here now. For let I equal to what? 0, then I'm saying I less than what? Bucket dot length. Then I say what? My semicolon. Then the next thing is what? I plus plus. I should actually what? Increment. Now the next thing I do now is this. I say say down. So I'm actually now doing this. I'm saying now I come here now and say this. If the key does not what? Exist, now what should happen? I'm saying what? Add the new key value what? Pair. And I say bucket dot what? Dot push, right? Bucket dot push. Then I will say key, comma, and what? The value, this way. Now this is it. This is how we do what? The set one. So now the next thing we'll do now is create the other method, which is the get method. Now how do we use it? We say this. Now I could say get, right? Get what? Get key. Then I could have this guy this way. Const index, right? Because index is equal to what? This dot what? Underscore hash, right? Hash what? Hash key, right? So now I say this. Now what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to what? Get the index of what? Of the key. Now the next time I'll say again, I say const what? Const bucket, right? Const bucket is equal to what? This dot what? Buckets, Abby? Dot buckets. Then I could say what? The index, right? So now we're getting there. Now the next thing now, you know what I just did here, I say what? I'm trying to get the bucket at the what? At the index, just like we did before. Now the very next thing for us to do now is actually what? It's actually to search for what? To search for the key in the what? In the bucket. Now I could say what? For let I what? Equal to 0. Then I could say I less than what? Bucket dot length. Then I could say what? I plus plus. I should what? Actually what? Increment. Now automatically this guy created that for me. I just have closing one here. Now I come down here and say this now. Now inside this now I say sorry for this. Now I'm saying const what? Const bucket, right? Bucket key. Yeah. Now const bucket key is actually bucket key, comma the bucket. Sorry. The bucket. The bucket value. So say bucket value, right? So now say is equal to what? Bucket, right? Index of what? Of I, right? This way. So now the next part for us to now do, we say what? If now if the bucket key is equal to what? Equal to what? Equal to what? Key. Then I say this. Say this, and I go say return what? Return bucket value. Now this is returns the value of what? Return the value if the key is actually what? Is actually what? Found. Now I also have this now. Let's say to return or find if the key is not what? Actually what? Found. We actually do this now. We say, you can say this. So coming out of this guy, so I'll say return what? Return buckets what? Okay, value, right? Now this returns what? The value if the key is what? Is actually what? Found. Sorry, I made a mistake there. I'm saying return undefined, actually undefined. Yeah. So this is how we do it. Now we create the next method, which is a method to actually what? Remove a key value pair from what? From the hash table. Now how do we do this? And just like the glitch we did before. So I'm just saying let's say we'll call it remove. Happy? Call it remove. Now in the remove I say this now. let me give space. So remove, and I say this. Now inside my remove now, and I say const index is what is equal to what this does what hash key. I already explained what this does. And I say const what const bucket, right? Const bucket is equal to what this dot what dot bucket, right? This dot bucket, then what the index, right? This way. Now the next thing for us to do now, we have to search for the what for the key in the bucket. I will say for what for I. What's I is equal to what, let's say 0. Then I say I less than bucket dot what dot length. Now upon having this guy this way, now we now say this I plus plus. Now I'm having this guy this way. Now if you continue, now we say what const bucket key is equal to what bucket index what index I. So we could say if, now if what if the what bucket what bucket key is equal to what key, right? Then we should do this. We're saying what we should do what bucket dot splice, right? Dot splice. Now what I'm doing here is that I'm moving the key if the key is what is found. So I say I then comma what 1. Yeah. So this is, so I say this return true this way. Now close this, and now the next thing for us to do is actually what return the false if what the key is not actually found. So I'm saying return true if it's found, and what return false if it's not found. Now we write one more method to actually what display what we want. I will say display what I will say display this. Now here, now I'm saying what I want to display. I'm saying return, right? Return what? Return this dot bucket, right? Return this what bucket dot what filter, right? Now inside this, now say bucket, then under expression, then I say bucket dot length this way. So now we can actually have this, then I say greater than what than 0. This is how we just have our display. Now the next thing for us now is to see how these guys actually work, all these methods and functions are actually what's created. Now let's see how it works on the browser. Now coming out of the hash table scope, now I'll say let's say let hash table then I can say equal to what new hash table, right? So I'm touching to the class here. Now the next thing for us to do now is this. Now what the first one to do, I'm going to say what hash table now dot set. Remember what's this set doing? Actually what add a keyword value. I can now say dot set. Now let's set my name. I could say dot set, what's the key name, right? Then I could have what the value as what Pfizer, right? So let's say this. I could have under hash table dot what dot set again. Then I could have a key and a value also. I could say let's say age, the age. Then I could say this age, let's say as 25. Okay, so now we have this guy this way also. So what else was, well, let's say car, or let's say city. Okay, hash table dot set dot what dot set city. Now let's say I don't live here, I don't live in what Lagos, so I change to what Lagos this way. Now this is how this guy is going to show. But now how do we now view it on our browser? To view it now, we now say what console dot what dot log, right? Console dot log what. So to actually get this printed out now, we now say console dot log. I could say hash table dot what dot get, sorry, dot get, right? Now I could say get what. Now I'll just put the key in it, get what name, right? What does I want to get? I could say console.log, so .log of what? I could say console.log hash table dot what? Dot get again. Now in this get now, I can now say this. I could say what can we have here? Let's say the age. So I could say age. So say age here. Now we could have another one. Sorry, console.log hash table of what? Of city. Sorry, let me cover this. Now you have what? Console.log what? Hash table of what? Of city. Now let's run this code and see how it actually runs out. Now we have our output here. So let's say Control Shift and what? And I. So now you can see our output as what? Faisal 30 and what? Lagos, right? So now as you can see now, I'm saying what? Hash table dot set name to what? The key is what? Name, and the value is what? Faisal. The hash table dot set is what? Age, and the value is what? 30. Then I'm saying hash table dot set city, and I'm giving what? The city as what? Lagos. Now to actually display it, and I say what? Hash table dot what? You get the what? That key what? Name, get what? The key of your age, and get the key of what? City, and going to actually what? Give us the value also. Now the next one we'll be doing now. Now imagine I remove one of the key, whereby I say hash table dot what? Dot remove. Right, remove what? Now I'm saying what? Removing age. Right, now if I now say this console dot log or what? Get, sorry, hash table dot what? Dot get. Right, so now dot get what? I give the key, which is what? Age. Now I'm coming back to my browser. I have this guy this way. Now it tells me this. Let's refresh. Now sorry, now as you can see, what are we having here? We're having what? Undefined, meaning that what? It can't find that key called what? Age. Now the last one I want to do now is the display, to actually show the output as what? As an array. I will say console dot what? Dot log. Right, console.log, then I'm saying hash what? Hash table dot display. Right, hash table dot display. Then I say this now. Now let's see what it actually what gives us. So we say this. Now if I come back to my browser now, we'll be having this when we refresh. So let's refresh. Now as you can see now, we're having what? Our array here. So now we say this now. As you can see, we're saying this index of what? 0 is carrying what? City of what? Lagos, and this index of what? Of 1 is actually carrying what? My name of what? As Faisal. Now let's move to the next topic in this course.